veins. Blue in one eye, red, white, and blue in my brain. I'm bulldog born. Bulldog, that's my breed. I was born to follow where the bulldogs lead.
Ladies and gentlemen, he had his name embroidered on more duffel coats than I've had hot meals. It's the King of Footscray, Dougie Hawkins. Welcome to Inside the Kennel.
How are you, Matty? How are you, mate? You good?
I'm absolutely stoked to have you talking about our guest today, Dougie.
Who we got, Matty? Who we got?
Well, you know what? It's one of the Bulldog champions from the 2016 Grand Final. An unsung hero in many people's eyes. It's the great Shane Biggs.
Matty, I'm jealous already. The young bloke is a Premiership player. How many games, Matty, did he end up playing, young Biggs?
Yeah, he only played 63 games in
63
total.
games, did he?
Yeah, and 6 of those were with the Swannies.
And then he come to the Bulldogs and mainly played in the back pocket.
Yeah, that's spot on. So he played a little bit of wing time when he first came across because he was identified for someone who could, was a good two-way runner. And but ultimately he settled in that back pocket role, and he played every game, Dougie, in 2016. Every game.
He played every game, Matty.
Yep.
Fantastic effort. Fantastic. He had his job to do. Played his role, no doubt, in the grand final as well. He did his job and played his role. How tall was young Biggs, Matty? A 6 footer, my size, or a bit a bit smaller than me?
It was 187 centimetres. Yeah.
Yeah, mate. So, yeah, and I remember clearly, Matty, just unsung hero, went along, did his job every week for every game of that year in 2016, and obviously took on the great number 24, which was made famous by Gary Dempsey and the great Stevie Wallace. Yeah, mate, he's a Premiership player. You can't take that away from young Biggs, Matty. What happened, Matty? What age was he when he did he play 217?
Yeah, he did. He played 217, and then he really struggled to get a game in 2018. He had some injuries, and at the age of 27, he decided to call it quits. 27 years old. So he only played like about 20 or 30 games after that grand final victory.
So, Matty, once that all finished for him, Matty, the young fella Biggs, did he retire completely from footy, or did he play somewhere else? Do you know anything else about him?
I'm going to ask him about that because once he finished in 2018, Bob Murphy got him up onto the podium at the Best and Fairest and said, "What are you going to do next?" And he said, "Well, I might actually look for a cricket club that's looking for a pretty ordinary middle order batsman." And so it wouldn't surprise me if he just took a left turn at Albuquerque and tried something completely different.
And his background, Matty, you can help me here. He's a Melbourne boy, Matty. Is he actually from Melbourne?
Yeah, he played with Lin Jong, believe it or not, at Mulgrave as a junior, and then moved out and played for Bendigo, the Bendigo Bombers. And I think Tom Campbell was a teammate of him out there, and also Tory Dixon. And he just cut it up. So he ended up being selected in the rookie draft of that 2012 season by the Swans.
Gee, Matty, how's that, eh? So he never played the under-18 system. He didn't play in that.
No.
Gee whiz, that's a great effort. It's a great effort to a boy that could easily been left on the shelf, Matty. So that's inner belief, fight and spirit, which that kid obviously showed and showed us all in that whole year in that final series. His grand final was a pretty good performance. He was steady, Matty. Again, did his job. Punts when he had. I remember the kid in the back. I didn't know a lot about him, but I remember him. He was a very reliable, very, very steady performer in that grand final.
Yeah, you had a bird's eye view up in the stand watching that day, Dougie, and on the wing, the most famous passage of play that he took part in that Bulldog supporters absolutely love. If you haven't seen it, guys, type in Shane Biggs, never forget, into YouTube. He basically has 6 touches of the footy in about 28 seconds of play, doesn't register a single possession, and yet advances the ball from the wing right to the goal square, right? On his own, just tapping it, smothering it twice. It's just the most remarkable piece of play. And that's the tenacious DNA that he had, pumping through his veins.
Was that the grand final, Matty, is it? Was that in the grand
final?
What quarter, Matty? Remember, did you know it offhand? Or do you remember
last quarter, Doug. 7 minutes, I think, to play, or slightly less than that. And it ended up resulting in a Liam Picken goal that just shattered them. And oh my God, the roar of the crowd! The hair was standing on the back of my neck when I saw it, because he was just not giving up that footy.
Well, Matty, at the end of the day, he's one of about 40 odd players in the history of our great club over 100 years to say, you know what, I'm a Premiership player. And you know what that holds, Matty? That holds everything, because that is one thing with me that really rips my heart out to say that, you know what, I didn't achieve that. I didn't get a grand final. And that is what it's all about. It's about playing in grand finals and finals. Shane Biggs, guess what? Congratulations, son. You're a Premiership player for the Bulldogs. Well done.
Oh, absolutely awesome, Dougie. Well, I'm so hoping he brings in the Premiership medallion, because we just want to have a good glimpse at it. It was an amazing day, and as you say, he's one of the very, very few bull gods that will live on as immortals.
Good on you, son. You're a star.
Well,
Premiership player.
Premiership player, and I can hear him
Is
knocking,
he
Dougie.
knocking? Get out of the way, Hawk. Bigsy's coming through, son.
Get in
Good
there,
on you,
Bixie.
Shane.
Thanks, Dougie.
Good on you, Matty.
Ladies and gentlemen, from humble beginnings, he started at the Croydon Fish and Chippery, and then he went on to sell exotic parrots on the trading post. Then he became a Bulldog immortal and Premiership Bull God. You ask for him, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Shane, never forget Biggs.
Thanks for having me. Go Dogs.
Great to have you, Biggsy. And listen, I want to start. Do you get stopped all the time these days by random people, and you think, is this just a random giving me a hug, or are they talking about the Bulldog Premiership? Does this happen to this day?
It's funny. It really does a lot. I don't think my wife's too happy about it. Sometimes there's someone walking the other way on the street, and she goes, "Do you know this person?" And I go, "I don't really, but I've got an inkling as to why." It's odd, especially around the west side. And I think after the whole never forget thing happened and the viral sort of video that ensued from that, still recognised now, which is odd for someone who's only played a handful of games.
Yeah, you've got cult status, haven't you? And so I imagine you put the sunnies on and try and keep the head down when heading through the west. That's for sure.
It's not quite putting on a disguise, but no, I haven't got quite that level yet.
Love it, love it, love it. Now, Biggsy, we start every podcast by asking our guests, how would you describe yourself in your own words as a player?
I think most probably do it. The cornerstone of their game is hard work, and I think that's what it started as for me. I wasn't, super gifted in jumping and speed and all that. So I just had to get up the ground as quick as I can, get to more contests, and I think that's all the attacking stuff came from that. So it's pretty boring. I wasn't taking hangers and kicking miraculous goals, but I suppose unless you're the top echelon of players, you sort of got to find a little niche for yourself. So I was lucky to do that for at least a few years there of good footy.
Yeah, love that, love that. Now, take us back to the very beginning. As a kid, when did your love affair with footy start, and did you always have the dream to one day make it to the big league?
So definitely when I was really young, and then as most kids do, boys and girls and whatever, they want to make it to the top. And it wasn't until I got to sort of high school that I realised I was a lot shorter than most people. Maybe not as quick and whatnot. So I lost a bit of love for it in that junior footy time. But when I started growing again in year 11, 12 and the year out, when I was 19. So once that started happening again, I thought, wow, I might actually have another crack here. So I sort of put my head down and found my way to sort of Bendigo Bombers to train. And that's when I realised that it might still be alive. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So your career, I guess, your pathway to the big league wasn't as linear as as most. You sort of talk about going to Bendigo Bombers there. How was that pathway for you, and how did you sort of catch the attention, I guess, of league teams?
Yeah, so I was I think I was 17. I was about 18, 19. I was 18 playing senior footy at Warrandyte. The Warrandyte Bloods out in the Eastern Footy League, just in Divi 3. It's funny, probably a few of the fans have probably heard it, but I actually preferred cricket and thought I was going to take that further, but that was definitely not the case. That was shocking, actually. So, but I went down to training the week before the first game and managed to play some senior games for Warrandyte. And one of the games there, it was on the radio or on YouTube or something, and through that, some people knew some people at Bendigo and showed the video clip, me playing in Division Three Warren Night, and got me sort of training run at Bendigo. So yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. And am I right in saying that you were a teammate of Lin Jong at one point?
Yeah, so I was. So when I went to Bendigo, we had to have a Division One feeder club. So I went to Mulgrave and I played with Lukey Ablett there. He was there, and Ling Jong was a 16, 17-year-old, absolutely tearing it up. So I met a lot of people through it. So at Bendigo, there was Jack Redpath, Tory Dixon, Tommy Campbell. So they were all there playing, and then Jongy at Mulgrave. So it was all right walking in the Dogs. I knew a few familiar faces.
Wow, wow. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a band getting back together. That's awesome,
I
Big.
know, yeah.
Love it, love it. So, draft day 2011. You weren't at the convention centre, were you? You were knee deep in a trench, I understand, and in your plumbing gig. And am I right in saying that your phone blew up whilst you were down there?
Yeah, so that was actually the rookie draft. So the normal draft had happened, and I, naively thought it was sort of all over. And then, yeah, I was working away and in a trench. Yeah, it really was. And the phone was on top of the trench and going crazy. And about 100 missed calls and messages. And it wasn't until I was actually texting a few mates, I didn't believe it. And then it wasn't until Mum rang me in tears that that, and then Sydney rang me and said, "We've got to book the flight for you 7 a.m. tomorrow morning." So it all happened very quickly. I dropped the tools and then life changed for a bit. Yeah.
Wow, I imagine so. So you turn up at the Harbour City not long after, climb out of the hole, you're in Sydney, and tell us a little bit about your arrival there. Did you feel like you were ready, or was it just a whirlwind as you described?
No, it really was a whirlwind, and I was 20 years old, and you know, s- under 70 kilos. I'd never seen a gym before. I'd actually never been in a gym before. And I went to Sydney, which was they were good then, and that was I always say to people, it was a bit like the army, not in not in a bad way, but I mean the way they trained, they were professional, they were hard. And I've gone in there and I couldn't even do bench press the bar on its own. So at 20 years old, it was a bit of a wake up call. I haven't lived that away from home before.
Wow.
So it was a shock, but it was probably the best thing for me at the time. I got me out of my, you know, mama's boy ways, if I can put it like that. And it was good.
Yeah, I see. And it took you a year or so. You had a long apprenticeship, didn't you? And playing in the knee full. How was that process? Were you gradually improving and feeling, hey, I'm a chance here to make a debut?
So I was, but it was pretty quick, really. I started playing pretty well pretty early, but that was when the rookie player rules were as when you couldn't actually play unless there was a long-term injury, and there was all these different sort of ways you could get a game, but it never worked for me. I mean, sometimes the coaches that were, the line coaches were saying, "We actually want to get you in there, but we can't," and it was actually true. There was ways and weeks where I should have been playing, they said, but so that was super frustrating until the end of my second year. That was really frustrating, and then the homesick stuff came into it and whatnot. But I was lucky to get in there finally and have a crack. But it was hard. It was a hard apprenticeship, and they were so good. I mean, 2012, my first year, they won the flag.
Wow.
I mean, they were unstoppable, really, and with them and Hawthorn and that. So I couldn't be too flat, but I've definitely wanted me chance. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I imagine that you're surrounded by all these champions, a premiership squad, and then you finally get the tap on your shoulder, your boyhood dream realised in the final round of 2013. Can you talk us through that thrill in a massive clash against the Hawks, your mum's team of all
I
teams?
know, I know. It was, yeah, it was crazy. It's actually such a blur, really, more of a blur than most things in footy that have happened since. Um, but it was at that Sydney Olympic Stadium, this weird stadium that cascaded up, and my mum's team and packed stadium, and yeah, it was so nerve wracking before, but as soon as I ran on, I actually felt quite, weirdly comfortable there, more comfortable than I thought. I thought I'd get the ball and turn over straight away and whatnot, but it was actually felt pretty comfortable. I think it was probably after the long apprenticeship, as you said, and there was a bit of trust in me by then, and whether that lasted, but no, it was good. It was one of my two most memorable days, I think. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Well, we'll
Yeah.
get to the most memorable day.
Yeah.
Izzy, don't worry about that. But just before we do, your time at Sydney was short, but your second and third games were at finals. Your head must have been spinning. What's it like to run out front in your second and third game in front of massive crowds under that sort of amount of pressure?
Yeah, well, the first one, the semi final was in Melbourne. I was in Melbourne, yeah, against Carlton, and that was back home, and that felt I don't know, in a weird way, somewhat okay at the time, even though it was my second game. But the prelim the next week against Freo, who were white hot, and that to this day was still the scariest game. I mean, they called it the purple wave, and that was the start of that. And I'd never been on a ground that was so hostile and um, it wasn't even like footy. Wasn't like a football. I remembered. It was frightening, and yeah, that was a big lesson in that it's all not so easy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, you played a couple of years at Sydney, didn't you? And I guess there were some frustrating times because you went back to the NEAFL and you finally broke it back into the 2014 side, but were dropped just before the grand final. What was that like? That level of frustration, and how did things sort of turn back in your favour to end up at the Doggies?
Yeah, so it was because I just got into the end of the year again, and sort of those frustrations came back. During the year, I sort of thought, oh, if it stays like this, I want to get home to Melbourne. I mean, and then I got back in, and there was a bit more faith back, and then it backflipped again, and then it was just a real feeling of not hard done by, but I was ready for a new challenge. I was getting a bit stale. I was still on the rookie list. They, refused to take me off it. So there was a lot into it, and to see him make another grand final. And the first year I was there, it was all new and fun. But by my third year, I was thinking I could actually do this. So I think that's what hurt the most, and thought I could be out there. And then they got belted, and all those thoughts were going through my head. So um, I was lucky enough to, with my manager, make some contacts with the Dogs throughout that period, and sort of had touch base the year before in trying to sort of get home if things didn't change. But through contracts and whatnot, we couldn't make it happen. Um, but yeah, and it's funny. Once I had a few meetings with the Dogs, I was actually talking about it with my old man the other day about how it was Brendan McCartney who sort of got me there with Shannon Grant and whatnot. Had a meeting at Whitten Oval. I had never been West Side before. It was all new and exciting. And that week, I think he got sacked. So I
Yes.
thought, where does that leave me? I've pretty much put my line through Sydney. I was like, I think I'm in a bit of strife here. Um, but I was pretty lucky that they contacted me that week, I think, and said it's okay. We're going to still go through with it. Thank God.
Wow, wow, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so you've arrived at Footscray. There's not only is there no coach, but the CEO's gone. We've lost our Brownlow medalist in Cooney. The captain takes off, Griff.
Yep.
So it's a club in turmoil. You've come from a premiership team virtually to a team basically in dire straits. I imagine you were thinking, "What's going on?" How was the culture when you arrived? Were you taken in, and were you sort of convinced? Actually, I'm in the right place.
Yeah, so it was a polar opposite because Sydney, of course, they train at their ground they play at. So it was all this big change, and Bulldogs was a real local club feel. I mean, it's changed a little bit now, but it's still got that charm. And like you said, there was almost tumbleweed going through when I got there. There was a couple of players sort of lurking around. I think some crisis meetings happening, and I was going, where am I? I'd never been out over the river before. West side, I was from the east, and just go through Barclay Street, and it's all happening, and I was just going, where have I landed? But I talked with a few players and some support staff who would stay there after all that turmoil, and I just got a really good feel for it, especially once I've said before, I met Bob and the senior players that were left, and obviously some of the young players that I knew who I've become best mates with, Jake Redpath, Libba, etc., Lukey Dell. They still had a lot of hope, and I think they had more hope after the sort of flip they had. I think it wasn't going the right way, the right direction, and there was some fresh hope for them. So I just jumped on board with that and decided I'd come down.
Unreal, unreal. Well, I love that. And it wasn't long before Bevo came through the door and Tommy Boyd and things started to change, didn't it? And I guess as a new recruit such as yourself, it takes a little bit of time to sort of find your identity and find your voice. But I'm told just 4 weeks after your arrival at the Christmas party, Woody tells me that you made quite the impression. Sorry
Who
to
told you? Who
tell you,
told you that?
I think this was Woody.
Oh, was it? Yeah, okay.
Tell us what happened. You've been
Oh,
doxxed.
far out. All right. Yeah, I probably had a few too many. It was a good day. It was a long day, and there was a couple of young boys who wanted to drive home, and I wanted to drive. I didn't even know. I thought, why did you drive here in to begin with? And then I remember someone coming up to me towards the day and sort of said, "You better slow down, mate," and um, whatever. And I said, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Brent Montgomery, the assistant coach." So I've gone, "Oh shit." So it was, but we had a laugh afterwards and that. But it was a great little period that once Bevo came and there was that renewed energy and it was a really good feeling come Christmas, even though we hadn't been there that long, there was a real feeling that something could happen, I think.
Yeah, well, it absolutely did because 2015 we sort of exploded, didn't we? We'd finished in the bottom three for 3 consecutive years, and Bevo's arrival, along with yourself, was a renaissance in some ways. And we made the footy public sit up pretty quickly with some big scalps early in 2015, and then come round eight, the knock on the door comes. You're pulling on the red, white, and blue for the first time. Bigsy, can you tell us about that first game and how it felt?
Yeah, it was a special period. I remember I got my jumper from Wol's dad.
Oh,
Um, he gave a jumper presentation. That's when it all started feeling real. Like you said, it was a bit of an adjustment period, new club, and I had a few niggles and that. So, but the team was playing well, and it was exciting, and it was a team you wanted to play in, probably more so than I'd ever felt. I thought I want to get in here before they get too good. I think it was a bit of like that. So, um, it was amazing little run up to it with the family and friends, and the club got around me, so it was really special.
yeah, love that, love it. And you played some sterling footy straight away in 2015, and you went out of the side and came back in, and your back end of 2015 was a sign of things to come. But there was a little game in there in that patch. It was against the Bombers, and Bob Murphy, who you mentioned, came out that game for the coin toss wearing the number 37 that day. Can you tell us a little bit about the significance of that, and also your sort of mateship with Goodsy?
Yeah, he's a special person, Goods. He really is. He took me in straight away. Very much in the same mold as Bob. He was a superstar. He was a rock star over there. Even then, even in Sydney, and that's hard to do up there as an AFL player. And the way he is as a person, and the way that everything sort of went down, it was a shocking time, and someone like Bob to stand up for that is a testament to him and the club and all the people that were going to stand with him for that. So, but two very similar people and their morals, and both special people, as most people would say. So yeah, very special.
Love that, Bigsy. Now, look, you weren't known for your goal kicking, certainly at AFL level, were you?
Not
Early
particularly.
on, pre-18s, you could snag a goal or two. You played forward, but you were predominantly a defender or a winger at AFL level. However, round 20, you snag your first goal at
Yep.
AFL level. Can you walk us through what happened? Do you remember it?
I do remember. I think I was showing my wife the video recently, actually. Strangely enough, I don't know how it came up. I think something on TikTok or something's going where they do something. I don't know. Um, yeah. So I remember. Yeah, I was just getting that point. I was edging up closer up the ground and thought, oh, I think I'm a chance here. And the ball came out, and I think it was Dale Morris, wasn't it? Took the mark. Was it? Yeah, he took it. I go, I don't even know I was in the right position to get it, but I just said, give it him. I was like, he sort of didn't love to kick, so in the forward half as well. So I thought he's going to give it to me here, no matter what position I'm in. So I got it, and then I just thought I'm running straight at the goals and having a ping, no matter what happens. So lucky it went through.
No, it was a ripping goal, and you would not trust Moz with whacking it on his boot. So I'm glad you ran.
Exactly right. So I thought I better take it off his hands.
Love it, love it, love it. Hey, we made finals for the first time in a number of years, and it was familiar territory from you for you. Coming in finals. Not many of the Bulldogs had been there, so take us through that game. It was a huge build-up against the Crows, and I guess we fancied our chances. It was a titanic struggle. What are your memories from that?
It was an odd one because even though it had somewhat come out of nowhere, and it was fresh, like during and before, and even at the end, we thought we were up to it, and really thought we were not hard done by, but I mean, thought that we should have won, could have won. A few things different we did, we would have got it. So, but I remember it was a crazy game. I know you said I'd played in a couple of finals, but that was up there as well. They had Eddie Betts was killing it, and they had all the young, small forwards, and it was back and forth, and Tex was plucking everything. So I remember thinking it was just red hot. It was on from the start, and but it didn't dampen our spirits at all. We thought we can do this. We can do this and more. I think like it was an odd feeling even after the game. Yeah.
Right, so you're telling me you walked off the field. We'd been beaten by, a kick virtually.
Yep.
And, that can deflate a young team, I guess, and sort of thinking, we've got to go through this all again when there was an opportunity there. You guys felt, hey, this is a start of something big potentially.
Yeah, I think it sort of wasn't planned at all. I remember even after the game there was talk of it, which is odd for an end of season. You've got the Mad Monday stuff coming up, and usually after the last game, a lot of brains have gone to, it's too hard right now to think about it. But we actually talked about it and said we're well and truly in this competition, and we could have done this and gone further if we had won that game. So I think there was a renewed feeling in the group even after that harsh loss. But it was for things to come, I think. Yeah. So it was.
Well, that is a fantastic segue to the greatest year in humanity. 2016, here we are. And can you tell us what it was like, the early preseason feeling and vibe around the club? What was the feeling?
Yeah, like to carry on from the end of the Adelaide loss, everyone went away and had their holidays and had a bit of fun, and then came back, and it felt like a consolidation year, but in a way that you can't consolidate making the first final. But there was all the game plan and what Bevo was trying to do. Everyone had felt like, a year in that we knew what was actually happening now. I mean, in the first year, there's a lot of teething process, and seeing what you can get away with as a player and a team in different things. And but it felt like we were onto something pretty early, and it came out against Freo and gave them a smacking. So that was the first round after a long pre-season, but we're all feeling good. So that was a good little barometer for us. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a career high 35 touches in that game and you got your first Brownlow votes as well. You came out and spanked them, as you say, along with Woody, who took that huge hanger and
Yeah, there's a few
was
good
flying.
highlights written there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what was the early secret? Tell us a little bit about Bevo and his role as a coach and mentor and sort of his impact on your career, I guess.
Yeah, so he, especially early on when he first came and all the way through that period, he was, gave you the license, and different players had obviously different licenses, but he gave us all the confidence to, use our strengths no matter what they were. And, mine was running, and, when I was confident with my kicking and stuff, and he said, just go for it, and if you were getting dropped and whatnot, it wasn't due to those things. It wasn't if you stuffed the kick up, etc. It was, other behaviours. So he gave us all a renewed confidence, and I think the doggies players, especially me as well, because from where I'd come from, I'd sort of been battered around a bit and felt a bit hard done by. And then the doggies players, to start when I got there, did like you said, got bottom of ladder 3 years of the last four. I don't know what it was, but they were feeling like they needed a fresh start, and they had a coach that came in and just gave them the license to go, just run and do your thing. So I mean. It wasn't anything planned. You didn't have to just go down the line and whatnot, which it sounded like there was a bit of that before. So yeah, they were pretty happy for a new challenge, I think, as well.
Yeah, and look, as a supporter watching it's quite scary but daring footy. Like watching you as a defender, we played in front of our opponents, didn't we? And I imagine that would be quite frightening because you're told stick by your player. Well, that's certainly what I learned. So,
Yeah.
how did you adapt to that sort of structure?
And it was because it was a bit like that at Sydney. I was a bit more sort of back shoulder. And even before that, growing up, like you said, So it was a bit of an adjustment, and when it didn't work, it looked pretty bad. I'm sure some supporters didn't like it. I mean, a few times I remember, especially over in the West and stuff, they'd go end to end, and it would end up in Josh Kennedy's hands or one of the, Walters from Freo. He'd just be over the back, and everyone would go, "What the hell?" So that they were frightening times, and a couple of times it happened in the Adelaide final. Actually, I remember it just went end to end and like flash. And you're 5 meters ahead, but then they were 30 meters behind you. So, but like Bevo said, on percentage wise, over a whole game, um, you got to grind them away. And if they get a few out the back, they get a few out the back. And that was half of our secret, I think, over that period was we stopped it up the ground more often than not. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, amazing. So after two stirring wins we had to start that season, because we also beat Richmond in round two, we came against the reigning triple premier, didn't we? Hawthorn under lights, and it was just an arm wrestle right to the end. And we were leading with about a minute to go, and Hawthorn streaming down the ground. The unthinkable happens with Bob going down. Can you tell us? I guess you had a front row seat to that. What was that like seeing that? And certainly from the crowd, we sort of felt, hey, the dream's over.
Yep. Definitely, there are a few moments like that throughout the whole year. As I'm sure you know, some of these moments that could have gone either way. And yeah, that was harrowing. It really was. I think footy took a little back seat for a little while for the day and the days leading after the whole footy and what we're trying to do as a team completely went out the window. It was a emotional time. There was tears in the rooms after Bevo talking, and it was a bit like that. It was that spiritual. There's a lot. We talked a lot about spirit those years. It was one of Bevo's big ones, and it felt like it was a. Some would have felt it was a sign or whatnot, and it was a hard little period. But testament to who Bob is. He quickly jumped back on it and got us moving forward, or else I think quite a few guys would have dropped by the wayside. So good on him for getting everyone back on board. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Because you talk about the psychology, I guess, of the 2016 team. Aside from Bob's injury, we had Mitchy Wallace with that horrendous, leg injury. I think your good mate Jackie Redpath.
It was the same game. It was the same game, bro. Yeah, yep, yep.
It's a blow up, isn't it? And you got JJ and Jackie McRae, Libba, Woody, Moz. They all
Johnny later in the
down
year.
one
Yeah,
after another.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
And it's weird. It takes a toll in a way that you don't really know. And well, supporters feel it a lot, of a team, but neutral ones probably don't.
right.
It can derail a team pretty quickly. I mean that red and wool one in the same game, that was horrific. I remember Jack told me he went down the rooms and it was because of Wols, how bad Wols' injury was. He'd just done his knee, but he couldn't really complain because it was, there was so much pain going on down there, and there was a lot happening in that year. There certainly was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it just showed the resilience, because I remember Bevo saying it's one soldier down, another one up, another one,
Yep.
and we just kept soldiering on, didn't we? And it was just testament to us.
Yeah, and the sort of game plan was that someone can. I know most teams say it in clubs, but if player goes down, someone can come in to fill the role, and we were really confident in that year, those couple of years for sure.
Yeah, so talk us through a little bit about the chemistry of the team, because your defensive teammates there with Woody and Moz and Matty Boyd, Fletch, Hamo, all those. What was your secret to being such a collective and being successful in that sort of that season?
It's hard. It was almost a few sort of stuff can't really put your finger on, but we had Rowan Smith, who's still a really close mate of mine, and I mean, we caught up with him for his birthday on the weekend. Actually, me and my wife. So that was sort of the thing of it. We gelled. We were just as much mates as teammates, which is actually pretty rare. Like people think that everyone at a footy club's best mates. They're not. They're really not. And we, as a whole, the doggies that in that period really were. And we go for fortnightly dinners with Bubba and his wife Al and his family as the guard dogs, the backman crew. So it was sort of a little team within a team, and the forwards had their own little thing going in the mids. But yeah, so it was just a special time, and Rowan Smith was the head of it. But then there was been Bob and Woody and JJ, like you said, and the list goes on. So
Yeah.
some different characters too. So it was never a dull moment either.
Yeah, what a squad. Yeah, we had Bubba on recently and he shed a tear just remembering, that camaraderie and that
Yeah.
amazing chemistry.
Yeah.
So
It was incredible. I've never witnessed anything like that special group. Yeah.
love it, love it. Now, look, as a defender, you talk about having incredible teammates, but you also played against some, amazing opponents as well. Some, electric forwards, and I guess you played on some talls and some smalls. Who were the best two or three opponents that you had in your entire career?
I often say, when someone asks me that, the Walters from Frio,
Oh,
that in his best, he's electric. I couldn't go with him. I actually couldn't. I didn't know what to do. So when he got you out the back, you were in a bit of strife. And Eddie Betts when he was, on as well towards the end there. So those smaller ones probably gave me more nightmares. I think the tall ones. I mean, if they got a mark against me, I could say, oh, they're a lot taller than me or whatever. But the small forwards gave me nightmares. So yeah, definitely the smaller forwards.
yep, yeah, fantastic. Now, round 15, we fast forward to. You come across your old mob for the first time, the Swans, and it was a magnificent game. You slammed home the first goal of that game as well, that long range one I saw recently. Uh,
Uh,
Tell us about the cliffhanger of an ending to that game, and how good was the feeling to say, "Hey, we knocked off the top of the ladder team."
Really good. That's yeah, that was a really good game. Is that one that JJ kicked it right near the end? Yeah, yeah. So that was really special going back there for the first time because we'd actually gone over there and beaten them, I think, the year before in the rain.
Right, that's right.
2015, as in Dogs had, and I didn't play.
Yes.
So I was eager to get back over to Sydney and play because I'd been over there, an old team, you want to do well. It was a special game. Like you said, I kicked the first goal, and which was crazy in itself to find myself up there so far. But yeah, it gets to JJ at the end, and I think that was a little sign that we were up to it as well. That game, I mean, up there it's hard to play up there then. I
Right.
mean, it still is, but it was very, if you got to win up there, that was probably as good as any road trip. So it showed us that we could do it again after some ups and downs and some emotional weeks, but got us back on track, I think.
Yeah, Moz said that he was able to just sort of plant that bit of confidence in his head, and Ruffy said the same thing because come finals, that was something that we said, "Hey, we can knock over this group." It must have just been, fantastic for the confidence.
Well, it is, like you said, if you beat a team, especially up in their home ground, you go into the game a bit more confident. That's probably why some guys have said once we got to the grand final, like it was, not not stressed, but I mean we had beaten them and beaten them in a huge game, finals like game. So it was definitely we could do it again. I think that was the thought, and yeah, it was a special time.
Yeah. Now, your season was fantastic. You certainly played every game, and the critics were lauding your improvement and your season because you were actually the second most meters gained in our club that year. And when you think we're boasting, players like Bont and McRae, players who are getting a lot of the pill, what was your secret to being, so explosive?
Um, oh, like it's pretty easy. It's easy when you got players around you. Like we were saying about that backline group. I mean, you got JJ and that doing it as well. So it was able to get off the leash a bit. I think when those guys got sat on a bit in the years after, I found out that when you go on all right and you cop a bit of attention, it's a little bit harder, and there's less players to go to.
Right.
But in those years, like you said, that JJ and everyone could get the ball. That was Bevo's thing. Any backman, we want everyone to be able to use the ball, and so everyone was kicking handball, and not like most backlines. So there wasn't as much pressure on me probably in those couple of years, and it was able for me to get off the chain and get amongst it.
Beautiful. Well, you took that form into the finals, didn't you? We got knocked over in the last home and away game of the season against Freo in Pav's last game.
Yep.
It would have been easy for us to put the cue in the rack and say, "Hey, this is going to be similar to last year's elimination final against the Crows. We're not going to quite just get over the hurdle." But something, was in the air. Can you tell us what that bye week was like and gathering a few players back from injury? How was the feeling in the club bubbling?
Yeah. So like you said, it was a big wake up call going over to Freo and getting belted, and that was sort of the narrative over there at the time. It was really hard to play over there against either one of the West Side teams. But then the bye, yeah, we managed to get that and get a few guys start coming back, and it wasn't set in stone. But we go, oh, they might come back. We might get them, and it's a weird little one, because sometimes it doesn't work when you bring players back that aren't quite ready and that. But it felt like it might be the start of something if we can get a game into these guys and actually give it a shake. So there was a good feeling. It was an odd because we'd just been belted, but there was a feeling even right up before the game. I've said to him about it before, talking to JJ just before we ran out, and he said we can do this, and I said, oh, like in this game, and he meant like the whole thing. And I was like, that was a crazy thing to say before a game we'd just been belted in Perth, but it really was. He said like. And I went, it stopped me in my tracks, and I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We can do this, the whole thing." And I was like, "Whew, all right." So
Wow.
yeah, it was a weird feeling that I don't think anyone could put their finger on. Probably some supporters too, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, so much for taking it one week at a time.
yeah, I know. I probably shouldn't have said that. It's not.
So JJ's crystal ball 4 weeks into the future, and he's spoiler alert, he got it right. But take us to this final magical September and leading, to the pathway to the 1st of October. Here we are. We're returning back to the scene of the crime, back to WA. We've just been belted by a team that's not in the eight, and we're facing a team that hadn't lost there for God knows how long.
Yep.
How was it running out on the field? JJ's confident, but what was the reality?
Well, JJ's a super chill guy, so he's all right to think like that. But I think sent me a bit of a scare through me in that. But the hostile as ever going over there. I mean, a lot of the boys have probably said out those years over there. It was frightening. It really was, because you're low on the ground, and the people in the front few rows actually is like they're above you. They're yelling at you. They're at your level, and it was there's a lot happening. But I think from memory, we just got a really good start. And gave them a big scare. And I think the crowd went really quiet, really quick. I mean, the first quarter, I'd never heard it like that. There was no one yelling at you over the fence, and I think the boys just gained confidence from that, and it was a crazy game, really.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was sitting on the couch. I certainly wasn't quiet, Biggsy, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have been a good one. I mean, we weren't into belting teams like that, especially in a final. It was new ground for us, so it was pretty nice. Yeah.
Woo! And we made it through the semi-final, and the Bulldog supporters just poured into to Melbourne Central, and Fed Square was packed out, and we had this massive march. I don't know if you're aware of that. The supporters marched to the G. We were like an army, and we were coming after the Hawks that day. We felt like this is something's in the air. How was it to play, and how was it to feel the army behind you?
Yeah, I do remember that actually. And I've heard about that, and another tough game. I mean, it was ebbed and flowed. I think I remember I saw it replay recently. Didn't realize we were down by 20 points, down by like I just felt like we were in front the whole game. But I saw on a replay on the TV, just it popped up when we were playing Hawthorn, I think, and we were down for a while, and it was a real knife's edge here for a bit. So I haven't actually really revisited that game at all, but. So I'm sure the fans were shit themselves in the stands, but the G's hard, but all the doggy supporters came out, and it felt like our home game when we started getting in front there. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, apparently in the box, they were discussing saying what changes do we need to make, and Bevo apparently said we're actually winning this game. It'll turn. We just need to stick fat to our plan here, and things will change. And that takes a lot of confidence to say. It worked.
it must have been because that's like I said. It sort of felt like that in the ground, like it felt like we were in control. But looking back, it was a good mindset because didn't even know we were really down by that much. So that was the sort of the way we played. It was that trust in what was going to happen and kick a bit straighter and whatnot and get there in the end. So.
Oh,
Lucky we kept the same game plan.
woo. Absolutely. Well, it led to a massive cavalry of Bulldog supporters jumping on the buses and heading out to Spotless Stadium, and probably the greatest final game in the history of the game. Many people say it was just it had everything. Tell us about the amazing game against the preliminary final against the Giants and how that felt.
Yeah, like you said, the whole thing. I mean, leading up, there were people trying to get on buses last minute and family, friends, and online saying, "Can I get a ticket to this, that? Can I jump in your car? Can I sleep on your floor?" So it was crazy, and all trying to pile into the small stadium, but it definitely was a home game. I mean, it felt like one. It was deafening for us. It felt like more of a home game than it Eddie had when it was pumping. So there was definitely a feeling and a vibe that it was going to be a massive game, and it didn't disappoint playing or watching. I'm sure it was red hot, and I think we'd already had a little, not a rivalry with them. That sort of started it in, like that. But it was always two young teams since they'd started and had our moments against each other and whatnot. So it was already a bit fiery. And I mean, the Toby Green versus the Dogs and whoever else. There was definitely a bit of spice in it. And it was sort of that thing. We didn't want the new kids on the block to get in the granny just yet, I think, before us to have a chance at it. So there was a lot at stake, obviously, at a prelim, but I think even more for two young clubs that were trying to prove themselves. Yeah.
So as a defender, when there's a minute or two on the clock and the scores are virtually level, and one mistake can just mean, you know what, history goes against us. What do you do as a player in that situation? Do you just follow your instincts? Are you on edge? Are you a nervous wreck? How did that play out?
Yeah, bit of all those things. I think you're standing there hoping JJ does something like he does and takes it. I think, I don't know. It's if it's in your area, but I think if it's not in your area, yeah, you maybe go a little bit more to where's my man, but still try and play like the way you've been taught. But it sort of all goes out the window that last minute and a half, and you're just hoping it doesn't it doesn't come to you and your man for a little bit and have a little break, and then yeah, like I said, hopefully you see JJ flash through the pack and run down the other end with it.
Yeah, that was magical. There were just magic moments everywhere, and the relief, I imagine certainly from the supporters after 62 years of waiting, to get into a grand final, let alone know what's to come, was just, pure elation. As a player, did you sort of feel that weight of history and what you'd achieved, even just to that point?
Yeah, for sure. I really did like, and especially living out. Live in Maribyrnong still, and just that feeling. Even like I said, from when I went to the club, in 2014, there was a feeling that there was so much hope still, even though what they'd been through. Like I couldn't get over how the supporters were still rocking up to training, and there was still this feeling from the whole level, from the supporters that I walked past in the street to the players, and leading up to it, you heard so many stories, and my brother, went for the Bulldogs growing up. My grandpa was from Footscray, so I followed Footscray through the whole period of, close prelim losses. So I knew that winning a prelim was pretty much, just like a granny. It really was getting into one. So I knew what it was like. And it was just this big, sort of felt this big weight lifted off, and thought about all the people close to you and the supporters that would be going crazy, as I'm sure you were.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What a week. Well, before we get to grand final day, I just want to ask you as well, if you could, we ask all our guests this, if you could name your Mount Rushmore, Bixie's Mount Rushmore, four players that you'd carve the faces into the side of a cliff face, who are your best teammates that you can carve up there? I know this is hard, and you'll probably leave a few out, but who
Yeah.
sort of takes it?
Um, so is this had an impact on me, or as best players, or just a bit of everything?
Just a bit of everything. This is your mountain.
My mountain. Okay, I'd have to put JJ in there. But what he did for me gave me confidence like no other, and obviously gave me a lot more freedom too. And him as a bloke and a person as well. He's one of them, definitely. Got him. Bobby Murphy, got to have him there as well. Get another guard dog in there. He's in there. You got to have Libba. I'm sure everyone, most have got Libba in there, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone in the whole AFL community would probably have Libba on their Mount Rushmore if they're from another team. I think they'd all want to have him as in their team running out with him. He made you walk a bit taller, Lib. Still does. He's still freaking getting around somehow. um, Give me one more.
Yeah, go on. This is tough.
One more. As a player, getting confidence in that period, seeing Woody what he was doing, like when he went back and taking those marks. I mean, and for us defenders, you're running back with your player, and he's intercepting 10 times a game. I mean, he would have saved me, my man, kicking about 3 goals a game. So the strength he gave you when you were out there, and the freedom he gave you because he marked it and then you'd be off. I mean, he was unstoppable in that period, wasn't he? Yeah.
He's a Superman. He looked like Clark Kent.
Yeah.
He was a machine, wasn't he? We loved him.
I know he was annoyingly nice and good looking, we always said.
Too
Yeah.
good looking.
He's
Yeah.
too good looking and too nice. There's certainly something wrong with him. Yeah.
Ruffle his hair up, please. Come on, something.
Yeah, I know. Exactly right.
Love it, love it. That's fantastic. What an awesome foursome. Well, here we are, grand final morning. You've woken up, and do you know what? Most players have a routine, but not you, Bigsy. I'm told that you and Libba, the man you've just carved in the side of a cliff, you've rocked up nice and early, unorthodoxly. Tell us about your arrival at the G.
Yeah, it was odd. I mean, it was an odd week in itself. I mean, everything was new, and we had the parade and the everything leading up. So it didn't feel like a normal week. You know, you barely trained. You had that big game. We had to rush back to the airport after the night game on the week before. So it was sort of a week that was perfect for weirder guys like me and Libba and that. You know, it was just we took it all in and just went give us more of this feeling. And yeah, it got to the grand final day and we I don't know why I thought it was going to be busy, whatnot. Got in an Uber and got there about 4.5 hours, 4.5, 5 hours early. It was crazy. I forgot what time it was. And we've got there and there wasn't even the stadium wasn't even sort of open and that. And we going, what do we do now? So yeah, we went to the local park nearby and just hung around in the park with Libba and one of his mates in our full dogs gear for a couple of hours. So it was a very odd little time, but it sort of took a few nerves away, I think, sort of having a kick with a few youngsters in the park and that. So no, it was good.
In a kid's playground, and Libba then discovers, actually, I don't even have my footy boots here today. What's going
Well,
on?
I don't think he'd even realised then. Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah. So he had a little plastic bag. I'm sure people have heard the story, but I don't even know what was in there in the end because probably some jocks and socks but yeah, definitely no boots. There wasn't much weight to it, so he went, oh, his mate's got to go back in an Uber and go home and get his boots. So they came just in time. Just for the game.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Well, you're not one to hang it on somebody for not having boots because I'm told that you opened up a box and pulled out a brand new spanking pair. We're told as juniors, wear your boots in because otherwise you'll get blisters and you don't know how it's going to treat. You're playing on the biggest stage of all time and you pulled out these spankers. What are you thinking?
I know, yeah. I'm not sure. I was taught like that. No, my other boots I'd worn, 10 trainings before in a game and all year. So I don't know. I had this brand new pair of boots. I thought they'd, I've said before, I thought they'd look good on camera, which is just a weird thing to think in itself. Thinking about photos after the game, but they hit the boot all right, so they felt all right off the shoes. So I was lucky, but my feet were mangled after. They were mangled.
I bet. Well, here you are, grand final. The team runs up the race. I imagine the euphoria and the excitement just would have been overwhelming. I'd love you to tell us and distill the game down to three magical moments for you.
Yeah, so I think the anthem and the little photo you do before that was when it came real. That it became real. I think running out. There's a little bit of a blur, but then they sort of sheep like sheep or cattle and went sort of that way and got a photo and the flash and I went, oh God, we've actually got to play in this grand final now. I mean, it was this week and it was everything but footy really, and it was like, oh no, we got to play now. So that was one definite one. Just remember you couldn't hear from honestly like a meter away. I've never heard anything like it in my life, and everything just went out the window. I think. I mean, some of your principles and your game plan and that, but it's a different game. It really is. I mean, I watched the first quarter recently. It was a rolling stoppage and just fumbling and whatnot for probably most of the first quarter, which is it's just get it forward, and I mean you couldn't hear anything. You couldn't even hear what the runner was saying, so it was hard to get messages out. But what did I remember first? So I remember feeling pretty not in trouble, but and then I remember I think I was on the bench and Zane kicked that crazy goal.
Yes.
And that just sort of calmed us a bit, I think. I think we thought we just need to get one through, and we're having how hard or rough it is, we just need to get on the board. And he kicked it, and I thought, oh, if he can kick that one, I'm sure we get a few more. It's from the boundary, and Zane kicked it, so it gave us a bit of confidence. So that was a big one.
You know, Bigsy, that was at the 19-minute 54-second mark. 1954, our last premiership. So you talk about spiritual.
Oh, there you go. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
are.
yeah. And you got Zane kicking a bloody one from the boundary, which is a little sign, I think. But the game in general, through moments, what else was there? I mean, a big one for me was the JJ disallowed one.
Right.
I've talked about that before, but that was almost, I think there was just this shockwave went through that is this the bit that where suddenly we don't get it. I I was confident before that, but that was a real feeling of they're going to steal this from us here. Like they could steal this from us.
The footy gods, the curse is back.
Yeah, exactly right. And it was just I could feel the supporters there in the crowd. It was a bit of shock getting around, and that was a huge moment. And for me, I remember being on ground level and seeing the Moz tackle. I mean, you can't go past it. It just that moment was the opposite. It was meant to be. It was Dale Morris tackling Buddy. I mean, and then the goal ahead, obviously afterwards by Boydie, but that tackle was just the whole club in a nutshell, really, wasn't it? And he was the whole club in a person. What he did for the club and bled for the club, and it was really fitting, wasn't it? It really was. And then Boydie, he's the unsung hero when he'd had a good game and he'd sort of had his critics and that. And he's just gone, cop this. So that was a perfect moment as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well said. You couldn't go more atomic than that kick. And wow, it's going through the air. It just a million things happened in that moment, for every Bulldog supporter, and I imagine you as well. So, yeah, absolutely. What great moments. But you know what, Bigsy? This is your podcast and this is your moment. And probably the greatest 35 seconds that a human could possibly experience because you talked about not being able to hear what the runner said. I'm told the runner came out to you. Are you saying that you couldn't hear his message?
I lied. I did hear that one. I heard that message. You must have got real close to me up in my ear. I got told I was coming off. He goes, come off at the next change or stoppage. So I thought I ought to keep this thing in and try and kick a goal. I was really just trying to kick a goal. So along with the brand new boots, I wanted to get on camera kicking a goal, I think. But as well, it was just everyone just wanted to keep it our end at that time, and I just didn't want to be away from it. So I thought I'm just going to run at them. Yeah.
Oh, well, run at them you did. So Papley has the ball. We lead by 1 point. There's under 8 minutes to go on the clock. And you know what? Buddy's looming at half forward. So if this ball gets to him, goodness knows what the parallel universe would have in store. But your arm reaches out and smothers the ball. In that moment, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's hard because, like you said, all those things are going through my head as well. Your buddy was always looming up there, and it was if it gets out the back, anything can happen. I mean, we'd had the main part of the game in the last quarter. We felt like we were going to sort of overcome the dam or whatever you want to put it, but we hadn't yet. And I thought everyone thought it just has to go out the back once, and we're stuffed. So I remember getting the smother on and thinking, I don't know. I think he sort of kicked it a bit lower too. I thought I was a bit shocked that he sort of kicked it into me, but I thought back then you could jump as high as you can. So I jumped as high as I could and just stuck my arms up. Yeah, just thought and then after that, yeah, just tried to get on the end of it. I thought I might be a chance here. Yeah.
Yeah. So you run onto it, you keep it in play, and you took a swing, you missed it. Pat's just tackled you, and most players would have just sort of laid on the ground and said, "My work's done here," but not you. You jumped to your feet like a cat, didn't you? And and somehow, Jack Lloyd picks it up for the Swans. You're a ninja. You've just tapped it out again and knocked it forward. What's going on there?
Oh, that was yeah. I don't know. I remember just getting up and thinking far out. I should have got a kick away. Should have got a better kick away. I haven't hit my foot or not. But should have done something better with it. So I was a bit angry at myself. So I thought I'd just run it where I thought the ball was, and someone had it, and um, pretty lucky to get my hand in again actually. So um, and then I thought we might be on air. Someone handballed it top. I'm going to run in the 50. I thought I've had two cracks at it. Someone give it to me.
Well, you see you disappearing left of screen if you're watching the replay, and you're almost like Forrest Gump. You're going in at one direction, and goodness knows where the ball's going. I imagine in the coach's box they're screaming, "What are you doing?
What's he doing?
Get back on your man!" But the ball falls forward, and Callum Mills just picks it up. He just gets there just before you, but almost like the 1985 WWF cage fight with Hulk Hogan. You poleaxe him, rip him to the ground, and somehow wrench the ball out. What on earth is going on here? How are you in two places at once?
Well, lucky the camera sort of went away, I think, for focus because I sort of was just sneaking in the back and well, that handball over the top. I remember thinking if I might be close here to, as I said, kick a snag again, but with the tackle, yeah, sort of just remember trying to roll him because he sort of was low, and I thought I could easily get him high here. So I thought if I sort of just go like that and roll him, there's going to be I'm not going to choke him or anything. So that was kind of that. I was just sort of trying to keep him in check, and he's sort of lucky he rolled with me. Yeah.
Ooh, lucky's right, and the ball wrenches out, goes to Caleb. It ends in Tommy Boyd's hands, and somehow, almost like a magnet. Okay, you talk about meant to be. The ball lands in your arms again in the forward pocket.
Well, that's when I realized that's when I looked up and I could see the goals and thought it's all been for something. Yes, here we go. And didn't even. Someone come out and someone popped up out of the grass and got me down. So it wasn't to be for me, but lucky that wave came and Tobes was able to centre it, and Pico and that were coming from those higher spots. And I mean, Pico as well. But where do I start with Pico? I mean, he'd be another one if there was a fifth head I could carve in. I mean, that's far out. He was superhuman in that period and his whole career, but far out. Talk about walking tall. There'll be someone out there with you. It's good that Pico got on the end of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we need a couple of extra mountains, but I tell you what, the Shane Biggs never forget. It ended with a Pico goal, but my God, you need your own head just there because it was it was monumental.
It really is. It really is cool how much. I mean, if supporters from other clubs probably don't quite get it, or but it's really special that how much how good it is to people. I mean, I feel a bit embarrassed sometimes because there's no real stat or anything, but I love it that people love it, so it's the best.
We love it, all right. Supercoach fans didn't get a point from you, but do you know what? We got a premiership, and we've got you largely to thank for it, Bigsy. And do you know who is a little bit angry with you, though? There was a guy called Rob McCarthy. I'm not sure if you know about him. He was up in the second level of the Ponsford stand at the time, watching this event. And he was getting very, very, very nervous. He was excitable. And enter your play. He's got no recollection of it because he fell off his chair and had a cardiac arrest.
No, you're joking.
This is a genuine story. He had a heart attack and died. And 3 rows in front of him, there was a paramedic. And he worked on him until the end of the game when the siren went. And as the Bulldog theme song came, he used the Bulldog theme song as part of his rhythm to revive him. This is a true story.
Is this actually a true story?
This is a true story. Rob McCarthy. And the man survived. He survived, and his first words were, "What happened?" when he came to. And they screamed, "We won the grand final." And he was just a lady. He got taken into the back of an ambulance, went into hospital, went into a coma for 3 days. And then when he came out, watched the game on replay, saw your play, and realised, hey, that was the moment that I went down.
Oh, my God. I have to bring my dad after this and tell him that. That's crazy.
Well, I spoke to him this week on the phone, Biggsy, because I said I'm interviewing you, and he said to say thank you, and he's a Bulldog through and through supporter. But you know what? Never forget. It's a never forget moment for him. That's for sure.
Far out for us all, but even more for you. No, thank you. Far out. Don't thank me. Thank you for coming back to life with the doggies one. I mean, how good's that? I've never
Absolutely.
heard anything like that before in my life. That's crazy.
Well, that there you are, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Well, it's all, when I thought I heard all the stories from that time, there's more and more, isn't there? They're infinite from that period, aren't they? So far out. That's rattled me a bit. That.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see
Yeah,
it. You
yeah.
don't rattle very much in your career, but that's one of those moments. And he's back from the dead, and he
Far,
was told actually, be careful when you're watching the 2021 grand final. He had to have a lot of people around him. So
far
don't
out. You want
think
all
he
the
forgot.
replay from the 2016, I think. That's have a crew around. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Thankfully, you weren't playing in the 21 one because it probably would have given it to him again. But there you are. There you are. Can I just ask you on that? Because we're coming close to the end of the podcast. When you watched I guess did the video review or spoke to Bevo post match, did he talk to you about the significance of that moment to you and to the group? What did he say?
So no, there wasn't really any in particular said. I mean, it was like you said, there were moments that things happened and moments that changed the course of the game. And, there's other moments that people wouldn't even realize, from a coaching point of view and a team point of view that happen that aren't, the Moz tackle or the whatever, just in ways that change the momentum of the game fast. So it wasn't really drilled down to any of that, but in the aftermath and that, you hear people's opinions on stuff through people and whatnot. And I think some people have, said some really good things about it. Bevo included. I think he loves the passage. I think it was just there were a lot of things that happened, like I said, with the Moz tackle, where it was sort of a thing of the club at the time, and what we'd gone through and what the club had gone through. So these moments just sort of typified through someone out on the field, the feelings of everyone. So the courage of Moz and whatnot, and the tenacity of us all, and smothering and whatever. But it was a special day and time, and I mean, people are still watching it now. I'm sure you are. I've watched it recently again. I think I showed my wife for the first time fully recently. So yeah, yeah, it's special.
Well, thank you, Biggsy. What a contribution to our club's history. I think you realise it because you've heard it so many times how grateful we are. But for supporters to be a part of that month and that success, you're forever remembered as a bull god. That's for sure. We
Oh,
love.
that's good. It's really special to have a home. I mean, I follow the dogs now, and they're my team. So I'm really happy I found that place that felt like my home. So even though I was only there a short time, the players and staff and fans and everyone involved. We're gonna live out west now, so we love it here, and we'll always be out here. So yeah.
Love it, love it. So you played two more seasons, 21 more games, but I guess chronic hip injuries and your body was pretty banged up, I imagine. But you got life membership at the club. Do you wish that you kept on going, or do you sit back with a cigar now and just say, "Hey, I'm satisfied with what I achieved"?
I'm not sure my wife would allow me to have the cigar, but I mean, like you said, there was a lot going on those couple of years after, and I've had two hip replacements since, and
Wow.
I can, I'm lucky to be walking now. So I don't think I should have kept going. I don't think I could have. Eventually would have stopped me. And just through that, the love of it, I didn't want it to ruin it for me and get to a point where it would ruin my life, from playing and ruin my relationships, even, and just ruin my quality of life. So it was just a mental thing at the end, and I didn't want to do it to myself and my family and friends. I was turning into a different person. My family and friends noticed it, and that's something that had to change. And so I just needed a fresh start, and go and get me stuff all sorted, my body and mind and that. But I did it all, and I, like you said, sit back now, and I've got the stuff on the wall still, and every morning or the afternoon, if I have my afternoon bath that I get teased about, I have there's the cartoon from the grand final, the thing in the frame and stuff. So there's constant memories and affirmation and just how special period it was. So it is with me every day. The doggy story. So it's never far from my mind.
That is magnificent. Well, I'm sure you sit back in a bath and just go, "Hey, I did it. I did that."
Well,
Um,
it's just always there, so yeah, it's special.
Beautiful, beautiful. Final question then, Bigsy, before we let you go. How would you like to be remembered by Bulldogs supporters? And have you got like a final message to Doggy supporters? Because this goes as part of our player anthology. You know, you're part of the collection now on Inside the Kennel. You'll be forever immortalised. What are your words to the Doggy supporters, and how would you like to be remembered?
Um, I guess just a hardworking, honest guy on field and off. That loves to have a laugh and keep it light. I mean, life's too heavy to live in that space the whole time. I mean, it's going to come and go, isn't it? With stuff, so I always try and get people up and about, and I hope I did that with playing wise and also not my on field stuff. But like I said in my speech with the life membership, I feel a bit odd having only been there a few years and getting it ahead of other people, and I felt a bit embarrassed at different times. But for the club and the community, the fans to get around me and make me one of their own was really special. I mean, I'd never felt it before and never felt it since, so I really needed that the way I was meant, where I was at, and I'll be forever indebted to them. So thanks, Doggies fans.
Wow, wow. We absolutely love that, Bigsy. Well, you're loved by everyone far and wide. You're the people's champion. Ladies and gentlemen, never ever forget Shane Biggs. Thanks, Bigsy.
No worries. Thanks so much. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Red in my heart, white in my veins, blue in one eye, red, white, and blue in my brain.